China's economy is like a wounded panda at this time, and we all know that wounded animals can be quite dangerous. My name is Max Villman, I'm a former fighter pilot in the Swedish Air Force, and let's go. So last video about China, I talked about the new map that the Chinese state published, where they have claims to territories belonging to several of their neighboring countries. My analysis was that China sees and saw some sort of opportunity now, that the world is mostly focused towards Russia, focused towards inflation, and GDP is not growing in the Western world. So right now China sees some sort of opportunity to act. And since that video I have been looking around more, doing my research, and there was some news regarding China just a couple of days ago. So I think we need to add something that is quite disturbing to this analysis. So stick to the end to make sure that you don't miss anything from this. So the first point that I would like to show you guys is one of China's absolute largest development companies, real estate development. They build big houses, almost entire neighborhoods. It's called Country Garden, one of the larger ones in China. They actually missed one of their payments right now. So it was quite a small payment as well, 20 million yuan. And this has caused the trust in the markets, of course, to be quite substantially lowered, to not say extinct, for this company. So this is their bonds, what the investors are willing to lend them money. That willingness has basically gone to zero, as you can see in this graph, and this is from Bloomberg. So that's the first point. And just to reiterate a little bit more about the Chinese economy. So China has a very, very big real estate sector, real estate development sector. I'm going to talk about that right now. From the top 100 developers in China, new house sales dropped by 33% in July in 2022. July 2023 compared to July 2022. So it's a 1/3 drop in new house sales. And that's obviously going to make sure that these companies do not get the kind of money that they need to grow and pay their debt. Also, people in China, when they invest in new development properties, you take out a loan right away and you start making mortgage payments for that even before it is actually finished. And this has removed the incentives of many of these companies to actually finish the development, because they already get paid from the buyers. They don't even need to finish it. This in turn creates this phenomenon which is sort of like these ghost cities that you can find all over China. So very, very large cities that are almost entirely empty. And I really encourage you guys to go on Google, YouTube, and to check these ghost cities out, because they are a real thing, and it is because of this phenomenon. Also to add to this is that the Chinese real estate sector is making up roughly 30% of their GDP, their gross domestic product. And if you compare that to the US, it's about 17%. So they have an even larger share of their economy in real estate development and real estate. So this makes them more vulnerable to crashes in real estate, of course. And then I think we all understand that China is not a democratic state. It's run by the Communist Party. It's a regime that runs the country. And because of this, they are changing the rules all the time, which makes people very, very unlikely to invest in the stock market. So of the Chinese population, only 7% own anything in the stock market, compared to the US, for example. 53% of the US population owns something in the stock market, and in Sweden it's almost 70%. So the Chinese population do not believe in investing in the stock market because of this. There's not transparency in the companies, and the state can change the rules at any time. So what they do is that they invest in real estate. So over 90% of the Chinese population own real estate, and compared to US, this number is 65%. So it's a very, very large portion of the Chinese population that invest in real estate, and that is basically your retirement pension, is that you save money and you buy real estate. And this has made real estate prices to climb quite steeply since the 90s. And it also creates sort of a demand for investment opportunities in real estate for private persons, which in turn makes these big development companies in China to build these massive amount of ghost cities that no one wants to live in. And they get paid for it. So it creates kind of a strange situation, actually. Also, when you look at, I've been researching a lot, like I said, and if you look at Westerners who actually have been living in China. So one Westerner, Serpensa, has a big YouTube channel. He talks about China a lot. He's been living there for 14 years now. He has moved, so he can speak more freely. Rents are actually quite low, so renting an apartment even in the big Chinese cities is quite inexpensive. It's the property prices that are very, very much increasing. Also, you need to add to the feng shui thought of the Chinese people that once somebody has moved in, it has actually lowered the value, so you want to buy investment property and keep it empty. At the same time, once the property has started to be rented out, you don't have to pay so much rent. So you don't get any real cash flow from buying real estate. It's the increase in value that everyone is after. And to reiterate this a little bit and really drive the point home, we can take a look at these price to income ratio for a 90 square meter flat, so a typical flat in a major city around the world. So this is not absolute prices, it's adjusted for the income in that city. So let's say you earn $100,000 per year and the flat, a 90 square flat, costs $1 million, then this ratio would be 10, for example. And I got this stats from Numbeo, and it's taken in turn from the Patrick David podcast. He makes a really good video about this, which I encourage you guys to check out. So if we look at the top cities, all 4 top cities are actually Chinese cities, which is quite remarkable, because I think in our minds we would believe that maybe London or New York have expensive housing prices. But if you look at relative prices, 4 of the larger Chinese cities are actually in the absolute top, and they're winning by a landslide. It's not even close, right? So the Chinese real estate sector is very, very much overheated, and they have almost 65 to 90 million empty apartments, and this creates this ghost city. I'm looking at my paper here. And just to add to this as well, so the Chinese Communist Party is in charge, and they have the power. And in the Chinese culture, you have something called not losing face. You never want to lose face in front of anyone. So if you take a regime that really wants to stay in power, and you take this cultural phenomenon of you are not able to lose face, then you have sort of big incentives for the Chinese government to try to sweep all these problems under the rug. And if you look at the same time at their youth unemployment rate, this is from Statista.com, you see that young adults and young people in China, 16 to 24-year-olds, their unemployment rate has climbed steeply from the beginning of this year, up to more than 1/5 of them are unemployed. You also have the one-child policy creating situations that are not favorable when it comes to, let's say, the economy. So you have sort of created this perfect storm, and also a government that doesn't want to lose face. So they are prepared to take draconic measures to keep this in check, which might work, but it might also create an even bigger problem. Maybe swooping everything under the mat will make sure that it stays okay for now, but then it will explode and be an even bigger problem further ahead. So to wrap this up, what do I see right now? Well, I'm no expert in China by any means, or strategy for that case, but I think this creates the point that I think all of us have seen before. So if you have a regime that's under pressure, they might be prepared to take quite heavy measures, even looking outwards to create some sort of military conflict, to take people's eyes and focus away from the domestic problems and look outwards and create an enemy from the outside instead. So I think if you take this analysis and couple it to the things I talked about in my last China video, about China seeing an opportunity to act right now because of everyone's focus is on Russia and on inflation and on GDP not growing in the West, I think this creates an even less favorable picture actually for the world right now. So let's hope I am totally wrong and that China makes it out of this without actually starting something military-wise with their neighbors. But I think the likelihood has increased since the Chinese economy is showing signs of, the bubble is about to burst basically. But I will end it here. If you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. That helps me reach out to more people that are interested in these kinds of topics and doesn't cost you anything. If you want to support me economically by buying me a coffee, you can do that on Ko-Fi. Link in the description below. I also have a newsletter, totally free of course, which I encourage you to sign up for. I'm about to release some really nice cool stuff for you guys there. You can also follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram here below. And until next time, as always, fly safe.